one of the things that was so profoundly impacted, so we have thousands of students, and I get invited every now and then for because it's in small groups. So they're actually, I'm like, we're bringing the school back into the heart of the home with a woman. So they have these small groups that, 7, 10, sometimes 20 women. And I got invited to one of them, and it was four generations. It was a grandmother, great grandmother, grandmother, and it was their group, which I thought was so, it's not typical. Like, so typically you know, and they're learning the same classes together. One of the trainings we do is replacing negative talks. And it was hard to hear because it was a grandmother, like, l- owning up to her really mistakes. But
Wow.
then it was a daughter saying, I inherited from you. Now I'm giving it. But it was so beautiful at the same time because it was like they were learning together, four generations. Nobody showed them how. Now they're replacing a whole new language, you know. And it was just like, it's impacted me so much because I thought, wow, what training can do in our generations.
Oh, yeah.
It takes a lot of humility though, Angie. That's the issue. It's like the skills are so compounding. You can't just learn boundaries without learning planning skills. You just can't learn time management without mind management. It's hundreds of skills and they're all connected, you know? Think about it. Like women come up to me like, how do you plan your day? Or how do you have time management? I was like, well, before I can even teach you time management, that's the easy part. I have to teach boundaries. I have
Hmm.
to teach effective communication so you can actually honor your boundaries. I have to teach mind management, emotional command. I have to teach you pivoting skills. When things don't go your way, I have to, teach you the skill of um, recalibrating after failure. So do you see what I mean? It's so connected. I'm
Yeah,
like, okay, we're just teaching time management, but they can't even just learn time management with all these other skills.
for
Everything
sure.
hinges on another. And
Yeah.
then they don't know their conditional worth. And you touched on it earlier, and I said, the thing is that we can't do it alone. And that to me is the biggest thing that I'm realizing women have in some ways become we've been so individualistic in our culture that we don't know how to be not codependent but interdependent of one another.
Yeah.
Where we value each other's gifts, talents, but we're willing to say, let's do this together. We're not fighting and comparing and competing with one another.
Yeah.
And that to me has to be the new way forward. Like, because we've
Agree.
been put against each other. And I think part of it is because we've been conditioned to believe that our value is based on power position. So we're all competing against each other. Who could be more perfect? I mean, look at my body at 65 years old. Like, we don't know how to age in grace. Sure, take care of yourself. But is that what we think life is? So women are so conditioned to be popular, to not know their value and their unconditional worth, which is why they're competing with each other. The hurt women hurt other women.
Yep.
And I
Yeah.
think if we break those boundaries and we say, no, your worth is unconditional. Here are the tools and the skills that you need in your arsenal, both your mindset and your skill set. I think that's what's going to bring us together.
Agreed. And I think you hit it on the head too. Like it can be just you, but there has to be that work above you and below you as far as
Yeah.
family, as far as your group. Like for us, same, we can heal the person, but and like what I try to tell them is like just because you change, don't think out there changed. And if you're going back into that same exact environment, expecting different results because you're different, it can happen. But really the healing has to come from the full integration
Yes.
of their loved ones, of what they've been through, which it includes taking accountability for the actions of themselves, which then can have the family heal and
Yes.
take responsibility for maybe having helped create that situation. But it
Yes.
has to go all around for there to be true, genuine, lasting healing. An
Yes.
individual has to heal all areas of their
You
life.
got it. You got it. And I think that takes a lot of commitment,
Yeah.
support when your community. You need a training course. We call it the Core Four, but honestly, it requires coaching
Yeah.
because, if you think about the greats in history, whether they're, the athletes or the gold medalists, they could have never done it on their own. We were never designed to. So, as a matter of fact, so we launched a women's school, I think 2019. And so I did this. I've been doing it I did it for free for 15 years. Didn't charge a dime. Problem when women don't pay, they don't pay attention. It's free. You give it to them for free. There's no commitment. They'll dabble in their training.
Yeah.
So anyways, we built a business. And so 8 months into it, women are like, January, how can we share this with other women? So we built a whole entire coaching business called the Wholeness Coaching School
Mm.
from really the women. I was not like, I'm a teacher. Like that's what I tell myself. But I think women are just hungry to be able to say, not only do I want wholeness, I actually want to do something in the world to make them whole. I want a sense of
Mm.
purpose. I want to be able to be part of the solution
Yeah.
of an integrated life, which is what you said. Like this word integration, I think needs to be part of our way forward
Yeah.
as women, because we've been so fractured and been told that only parts of us matter, and it's not working. And it's not also even integrated in every part of us, like even integrated both men and women. Like
Yep.
there needs to be sort of that collaboration of how we're gonna recreate a society where we're honoring the value of every human person's worth.
Yeah.
That we can have difference of opinion, but not feel like we're attacking the other person. I
Yeah.
mean, the news is a perfect example of it. It's like
Uh,
like you said, nobody's listening. Like we don't know how to break bread with people who don't believe in everything that we believe in. We've become so homogeneous in some ways in our thought. I mean, we could have different of opinion about certain things, Angie, but I would still love to be able to say, well, tell me why you think that.
yeah.
You know, I disagree with you. You know what? I think I see your point. Can you imagine if we created that level of civilization where we can hold space for difference of opinion with such grace?
I mean, that would be amazing, which is the complete opposite of what the news wants. They want to keep us
Yes.
in fear and shame and division because we're easier to control that way. And that's why it's really up to us to be strong and be the best versions of ourselves. So we're not giving into that because we're
No,
bombarded with it. I mean, I don't ever watch the news. I haven't watched it for years, but it still floods into you, in certain
sure.
ways. And did you see this? And have you heard that? And I'm like, nope, and I don't care.
Yeah. And it's everywhere. It's like hard to, with social media, it's like even if
Yeah.
you don't watch it, it's like you're bound to see it with, sitting in the airport. And so,
Ugh. And now we're hitting election year. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
here we go. It's going to get
Yeah,
crazy.
it's already crazy. And that's
Yeah,
why
I
I
know.
think the solution is a grassroots movement
Yeah.
of interior development of the woman. And that's what we believe in the woman's goals, that let's reclaim womanhood by first reclaiming our own identity as women,
Yeah.
by training ourselves with the mindset and skill set necessary to own our value and reclaim who we are first,
I
and then
love that.
go to the world.
You said something, and I'm just going to back it up a little bit, but I love how you go into that. So, a lot of how we teach in my rehab and a lot of my beliefs are the Buddhist type beliefs, which is, the Buddha said there is suffering, and for years I fought that. I'm like, well, why is there got to be suffering? I don't agree to that. I don't want to suffer. I don't think that's okay. That's negative. That's this or that. But it is reality. And I love that you specifically address that and say, it's okay. It's part of the process. Like it's not a bad or good thing. It is what it is. People are going to die. Things are going to happen. There will be suffering. But you sort of define that because it took me a while to try to understand that concept because of, the Far East teachings. They're not like very, specified, like yours is more of a how to, and this is why. So I love that you sort of really define that for people to help them understand that theory.
Well, it's a really great, thank you for that observation. Can I tell you, I didn't actually start out defining it. I wanted to invite women to training, but I actually didn't even use the word sacrifice as of recent. And I was sort of gauging the culture. And as of recent, I actually realized it needs to be reintroduced exactly because
Mm,
I think it's not that I didn't kind of talk about it like pain, but I think I'm almost reclaiming that language itself
yeah,
as redemptive and good and purposeful and not to be feared. So, um, I think different seasons call for different things. And I think we're moving into kind of almost it's time to actually give language to it and break it down a little bit more. And yeah, I don't, it's part of the human experience that we've been avoiding.
yeah,
It's not, it's inevitable, and I think it's doing humanity a disservice to avoid something that is just part of the human experience.
yeah. Do you teach in your school and in your learnings and in your teachings that we kind of create our reality? And
Yes,
because I
absolutely.
found very empowered, but I'm like, I see
Yes.
how I made that happen. It just takes away the sting because you're in retrospectively realizing you almost created that so you could have that experience, good or bad.
Yes, I do. So basically, you can't control the external circumstances around you, but you can control how you respond and
Yeah.
interpret. the circumstances around you, which is in the realm of your control. And I think there's two radical extreme thinking, which is virtue's right in the middle. And that's what Buddhism believes really. It's kind of that virtue, from my understanding of it at least, is that really, this idea of your desires don't matter, right? Like
Mm.
it's almost like you just suppress. Depression leads to depression. That you can't control anything. Everything is outside of your control. And sometimes women of faith, Christian faith, and I'm, Catholic, kind of fall into the trap. It's like everything is about God's responsibility, and I have no ownership in it. Like,
God's plan. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like God's will. And people always tell me, January, it's God's will. I'm like, well, how can you even do God's will if your will is not formed? Like, don't blame God for the choices you were incapable of making or you're not willing to make. Like,
Mm.
it's you have to take ownership. Like, we were born with free will, right? At least most of these, so that's not the conversation. But then you've got the radical extreme, I think, is that you almost can create your reality almost outside the bounds of natural law. And what I mean by
Mm.
that, like, then you can kill anyone.
Right.
Then you can do whatever you feel like. You can mutilate yourself. So this is also new to me because I'm kind of with you. I'm like, you're responsible. Like, I create my own reality. I'm a mom of 8. My home is peaceful. My marriage is inspiring, 18 years. Like, I don't have to sign up to, this hot mess mama mentality. It requires suffering and discipline, but I can create my reality. But to a point, I think, where we're almost defiant of actually what makes us fulfilled as human being. And I think
Mm.
what makes us fulfilled, it has to be in harmony with natural law. Like, sure, you can be everything you want to be. You can create your own reality, but if you're a dishonest person, you're not going to be happy and fulfilled because
Right.
dishonest people are not trustworthy. And then you lose friends and you follow the rabbit hole. So I do think that you absolutely create your reality within the bounds of natural law and
I
what
love
is
that.
true and good. And I just did a training on this. I said, listen, virtue is not rule. Sometimes we've sold it as a rule. And I think Christians have done a really bad job selling like a moral life as rules. I think we've actually made it worse for a lot of people. It's
Because it's
it's
so black
actually
and white. Yeah.
yeah, but it's almost like this is what you do and you suffer for it. It's almost like you're selling hell without heaven. Like you just
Mm.
like discipline yourself all day long, and these are the rules. I'm like, that's not the point of virtue. The point of living a moral, virtuous life is actually for your own fulfillment. Like it makes you a happier individual when you're honest, when you're a woman of your word, when you say what you mean, what you're gonna say, when you're grateful, when you're responsible. All of that are not rules. All of that is your blueprint to a woman fully alive.
Yeah.
It's just been falsely sold to us. So that's sort of new to me where, yes, I believe you create reality, but not to a point of delusion.
Yeah. I love that. So, thinking with the Joe Dispenza, do you, and you talked about, imagining and visioning. Is that part of your training as well? And do you subscribe to the let's envision as if it's already here
Yes.
to not trick, but to train your system into creating it because you're already believing it's happened?
Yeah. So I do a lot of neuroplasticity
Yeah.
and rewire. Like we have a rewire formula. So I teach in frameworks and formulas. So I actually teach a self-image where their future self-image, so that you literally, the subconscious mind doesn't know what's reality or what's imagined. So you imagine yourself. So imagination itself is a skill that I teach. Do you
That's
see what I
awesome.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
then I have to teach. And so I tell them, I said, remember when you're imagining, it's not planning. Because there are times we're imagining ourselves, that grateful person, the wealthy person,
Mhm.
whatever it is that we want, but we're planning with our imagination. I'm like, your imagination is like a buffet. So I have to teach them that.
Yeah.
But planning is a different skill. So yes, so we do a lot of neuroplasticity. I do a rewire formula. I focus on the reticular activating system. We do
Yeah. Love
flip
that.
scripts. So much of what I do is really scientifically based. I just do
Yeah.
it in practical sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, everything is kind of a rewiring of our work. So we have this rewire formula called WR3. It's a write, recite, repeat, retreat. So you have to write it daily, whatever it is that you're shifting, your future self-image or whatever it is that you're deciding, whether it's a skill, you have to recite it because then you're literally impressing it upon your subconscious mind.
And
And
when you say recite it, is it writing it or is it verbalizing it or both?
both. So write, recite, repeat. So the
Um,
WR, so to write it, and then WR, so write it, recite it, repeat it, and retreat is you have to imagine it. So
Mm.
that everybody knows it's like, no, you have to go through the process. And with my kids, it's so funny because I have a script book in my kitchen, Angie, like literally. My kids write hundreds and hundreds of scripts, and it's
Wow.
just for our life right now. And so what I'll do with my older children is that they'll write a script, right? But then they actually have to film themselves because the older ones have phone, and they have to do it in the mirror and recite it over and over.
Woo! You're not
They
messing
have to-
around.
No, I'm not. And they have to text it to me. And but I don't have a blueprint. I'm creating the blueprint for moms right now.
Yeah.
And so I wish somebody would have handed it to me. I said, listen, your work will be a whole lot easier than my work because I'm doing as I go.
Yeah.
I'm training, I teach hundreds of skills. So, and then I teach, they have to send it to me, right? And then they repeat it. And I'm like fierce about illegal words in my house. So,
What's an illegal word?
oh my gosh, annoying.
Oh.
Because then they'll say to each other, I can't, it's impossible,
Mm.
it's expensive. It's like that's all relative.
Mm. Mhm.
I've given that, like, I think we use the word challenge hard. Um, sort of replacing, so you can't erase, replace. I have a whole list. There's like 20 lists if any audience wants it, I have an illegal word list. So it's even phrases
Yeah.
that, that they use because it's so important that they also have language for each other.
Yep.
So if they are, if I don't hold them accountable, then they'll speak to each other in a way that's demeaning because they're kids, they don't know any better.
Well, and that's what they hear in schools. I mean, it's amazing what
That's
these kids will say to each other that they're learning from their older siblings and parents and they're bringing in and yeah.
it's from the parents.
Yeah.
They don't know how to police their children, so the children are saying it, and my children hear it, and my children bring it home. I said, it's an illegal, but they know now. Like I've set kind of ground rules, and
Yeah.
they'll actually say it like, "Mom, oh my gosh, your language is so negative. I can't even." And I'll bring it to their attention. Sometimes I drive them in soccer, and I'm like, I noticed what she said. Oh, I was so anxious about it, and that's a word that's legal. I'm like, no, you need a plan. You need to rewire your mind, but you're not anxious. Like it's not, like there's real anxiety that happens,
Yeah.
but use the word not callously. Like they're not allowed to use the word stress unless it really is. Like I'll tell them, I'm like, I use that word 2, 3 times a year.
Yep.
Use it accurately. Don't diminish the value of the word. So that's one of the legal words, like I'm so stressed, mom. I'm so anxious. And these kids use it like like it's air they're breathing.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's subconsciously wiring in their system. So
I
so yeah,
love
they're
that.
not, they're not allowed. It's illegal.
I love that. One word, and I just got corrected on this, thank gosh, by a close friend of mine. She's a healer, and she was saying something. I'm like, I can't afford that. She's like, stop. Don't ever freaking say that again. The way you frame it is, it's not in my budget to do that right now. Like,
Mhm.
and just that one, taking out that one word, can't afford it, or one phrase, I guess, and reframing it, it was so empowering. I'm like,
Yeah.
you're right, because now it's my choice. It's power of choice. Like I'm choosing to not do that because I don't have the extra money to do so. I'm not saying I'm not doing something I want because I can't afford it. So
Yeah.
it really is just retraining and reframing. The thought is the same. It's just put in a different way that then rewires everything. And I love that you focus on that so much.
I think it's scripting. That's what we use. That's why we have thousands
Yeah.
of scripts because we just don't know what to say. And we get ourselves into trouble. Like exactly what you said, like for women, we even want to say, I am wealthy. Some women like don't want to say it. They can't say it but January, it's really expensive. I can't afford it. I don't know what to say. So you just really just need to give them the language.
Yeah.
They just don't know.
Right.
And like what you said, like you're trying to shape a new self-image of yourself, that future self. And so you're trying to wire the 95% of your brain and live in that future self, right? Because your subconscious mind doesn't know, but then your language is incompatible with it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not sustainable. That's why, even Tony Robbins came out, it's like affirmation alone can't work. It can't
Right.
because you have to have the skill.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I am very, I'm wealthy, but you don't get up in the morning to work or you don't, budget your time when you're
Yeah. You just sit in
fine.
meditation and say, I am, which is
Yeah.
great, but there's got to be action too.
Correct. Like it's not, it's that's why it's mindset and skill set. You have to have that integrated, but you can't just keep doing too without shaping your perception.
Yeah.
So, I think this affirmation could be people kind of give up on it, just like a vision board because they use it as a collage. We just don't know how to use it.
Yeah.
you
I love
know?
that. That was the thing about The Secret too, right? Like it
Yeah.
totally makes sense. But again, you got to do the action. You can't just sit in this beautiful visionary space and expect the magic to happen. There's got to be action behind it. And it sounds like that's exactly what you do. You create the vision, but then you create the action steps to actually achieve it, which is so powerful.
Well, that's really the whole, we have a 16-week foundational course, and everything that we talked about is really in there in formula base,
Yeah.
like the rewire, the self-image, because at the end of the day, we have to invest time and energy in it
Yeah.
because it takes time to wire these inner system. It takes time to even think through how to even shift it, and then to think of every part of our life, our friendship, to rewire the cattiness, to rewire what our value in relationships, how a man should treat us, how we should treat ourselves. I mean,
Mm.
it, and the biggest complaint that we have in our school is that January, it's overwhelming because there's so much. And I said, listen, this is not for you to get through. This is for you to work through for a life. Like it's taken me years and continually to, because it's a blueprint on how to be a woman in modern society. But we got to stop this idea of one and done. We are to be a student of ourselves, of the
Yeah.
world, and of people for the rest of our life.
Yep. Yep.
And that to me has to be, once again, the shift of thinking that we don't just go to school, we do self-mastery, and it's not for the chosen few,
Yep.
you
I,
know, and you know that language, and you've seen the people who have been a victim of the opposite. And the alternative is why we kind of dabble into it and then go back.
Yeah, we test our foot. Yeah, that's why for my company is one of the core values is continued strive for growth personally, physically, and mentally.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people think, okay, I'm going to go to rehab. Good, did all this amazing work. I'm fixed, done working on myself. And it's like, no, no, this is a lifelong journey. And
Yeah.
it's not just people in recovery. This is all of us. Like it is a
Yes, you're right.
lifelong. And when we quit pouring into ourselves, which is what I've learned lately, I've been spending so much time just pouring into myself, the more we're able to do that, the better we are for
Yeah.
ourselves and for everybody. It's like
Yes.
anything, the more you invest, the better it gets. So why not invest everything you got to create the best version of you and then sustain it?
Yeah, and that's the key word, I think, is sustainability.
Yeah.
And it's not sustainable, and that's why we have the burnout, is because we're
Mm.
giving from a place of depletion. And
Mm.
and one of the things that I think that we have to start giving women understanding and language for is receptivity. And what I mean by that, it's like in order to be
Huge.
poured upon, we have to receive formation and training, right? Like you can't just keep giving to your clients, to my kids, without me also receiving. My kids need to know that mom needs to be trained, needs to retreat, needs to receive, so that I can give from a place that's sustainable
Oh,
and not resentful. And that's why to me the battlefield is like language. It's like, because so much of what I talk about you totally understand, but the most of the world, it's a foreign concept because the language is almost new.
yeah.
Where do you learn it, Angie? Like where?
You
Where do
you
we go?
hopefully find a mentor that can help you, but you're right, it's not readily accessible, and there's just such a flood of stuff out there that
Right.
even if they were searching, what are the odds they're going to find the thing that's going to be the best thing for them? Because there's just
In the
an
season.
overwhelm of
Yeah,
information at this
that's what I
point.
mean. That's why I think we need the coaching because,
Yeah,
where do you begin?
yeah.
Like, what are you going to begin at your most vulnerable, what we call arena, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. But that's why I think the solution for our culture in terms of designing a flourishing culture is really, a grassroots movement towards our interior work.
Hmm.
And it can't just be self-development, is that we need to have skill development in
In
every
community.
facet. Yeah, and that's really our vision in the women's school. Is like, it's so bold, it's so brave. It's like you've got Amazon, which is the biggest department store with no physical store. I'm like, listen, this is a school for how to be a woman. We don't
Mm.
have a physical, well, hopefully one day we'll have a retreat place for women, but we will bring the store to you, we'll bring the school to you.
Yeah.
We'll bring the training to you, and we're doing it in system in group settings so that you have a community of women that are doing deep interior work.
Yep.
You have a coach that walks you through our programs, and that you're committing, like, not, you're not dabbling, you're saying start to finish. Like, our students go through our class like 3, 4, 5 times, and they're like, it's not enough.
Yeah.
It's deep interior work, but the alternative is what, and so that's why I'm like, I have 8 children, and I could just really sit in Florida sun. I love my life. I love
Yeah.
being a mom. I love
Yeah.
but I'm passionate about this work, and that's why I commit myself to it and say, out of my comfort zone. I love up my private life, but I'm like, what good is it to have a nice, beautiful private life if I have done my work to contribute to women who are suffering?
Yeah.
And I feel like I've been blessed with a training that has fueled my life of wholeness and continue to because it never ends. And so this is why I do it. I really believe in it. So
Ah,
it's reclaiming womanhood in modern society, and I think it's time.
I love that. One more thing I just wanted to validate before we can tell all our listeners where to find the school, which I'm going to do. I'm so excited to do this. Um, the receiving piece, I feel like, especially for women, I know it was for myself, and I've literally only really learned this last year is I think there's a lot of blocks to receiving. So you're wanting all this amazing stuff. You're wanting, as women, that's our thing. Like we receive, we give life, we do this, but it becomes a contingency. Like I know for myself, I didn't ever want to just receive because that meant I had to give this, I had to do that. There was some expectation. There was never just it's okay to just receive. And that, again, almost has to be taught because we're not taught that. We're taught there's strings if you receive, there's expectations. You're not worthy, you're not good enough. And so, how can you have these big visions and all this if you don't handle the ability to receive?
That's and so as a root cause, how have we as a culture defined a strong woman? I can do it all by myself.
Yeah,
So 99% of women have wired that definition. Therefore, when they receive help, they think they're weak. Who wants to be weak?
no one.
So that's what I mean is that
Yep,
even this needs to be reshaped and saying vulnerability makes us receptive. So we have to even wire vulnerability, like Brene Brown, as a positive emotion that
mm,
actually makes us stronger as women, not weaker.
yeah,
So yes, you're right, it's a block. And I think the first block is their definition of what a strong woman is. The second block is that we actually have to know that our worth is unconditional.
yeah,
Like, if we receive help, does that mean we're less valuable because now we're not as strong? Because what makes me valuable as a woman is that I'm strong, because that's what we value as women. And strong women don't ask for help. They don't need help. I am woman, hear me roar. I can do it all by myself. I don't need men. I don't even need women.
yep,
I don't even need children.
yep.
I got it. Boss lady, here I am. I'll conquer the world. In the meantime, I'm crumbling inside. I think those days are over.
Ah, I love
Yes,
hearing that.
we need a new model of women. So yes, the block is there, and we've got to release those blockage. And I think it's a skill. It's
Yeah,
both mindset and a skill set to release our block. But I'm hopeful, Angie, because I think the pain that women have endured and men and our children has been so compounded through the years that we're finally is like, fine, whatever it takes now.
yeah,
Like I think, like you said earlier, like we're tired of being tired.
yeah,
We are, we don't want to be a victim anymore. It's
yeah,
hurting
yeah,
our family, but we just have no solution and answer.
yep.
And I think we're there. The lunacy in our culture, the lack of common sense, the fact that I have to defend my value as a biological woman, it's saying it's gone too far. It's become
Agreed.
nonsensical, like we should have a right to be a woman, but now
Proudly.
it's but now it's like the right to be a woman if you're a man, that you want to be a woman. I mean, it's like that's what I mean. It's like, okay, not no freedom and not whatever you want because you feel like you're a woman and you want to be in the bathroom, you feel like you're a cat. So we should have litter boxes in our bathrooms now. I mean, that's reality,
Yeah,
you know, there's natural law that should be the bound of what allows us to actually be happier individual. And so, yes, you are in control. You absolutely are. Like it's your God-given right to choose your thoughts, but not to a point of delusion. And
because
that's why
then that just makes it uncomfortable for you and everybody else who's trying to understand what it is you want. It's almost like creating the disease in
yeah,
yourself and
you're right.
others because it's not
It's
natural. It's
just
and I'm
not
not,
essential.
people can do whatever they want, but it's almost like creating their own chaos that they now want to live
Right.
in because that they can.
They're unhappy. I mean, think if you identify as a cat or a wolf, which, or the children that have castrated themselves without our frontal lobe, even like at 25, we don't even have our frontal lobe fully formed. and we're offering it to 9-year-old who can't even drive and make decisions. I mean, and these are adults pushing that. So that's what I mean. Like, I think there's almost, I heard a great conversation, and it's like, I think enlightenment is almost coming to an end, and which I thought was fascinating because I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
enlightenment's gone, give us good things, but it was a fascinating take, and you can listen to it. And I said, because I think what we're seeing is that you can't just do whatever you want. And we're so enlightened that there is no bounds.
Mhm.
And we are now seeing the repercussions of like, sure, you want to be a wolf, sure, you are attracted to children. This is what they call minor, there's a word for it. It's pedophilia, but it's
Mhm.
minor attraction. They call MAPS.
Mhm.
Like, come on, world.
Yeah.
Don't let your whatever you feel like delusions encroach on society and our safety. Like, we're there.
Yeah.
So I think that there's almost a hunger for truth. There's almost a search for like, and I'm seeing it actually. People are like, yeah, you're right. Like what you're saying, like, I don't want this, like
Yeah.
this is not normal anymore. Like this is kind of, but I don't. So I think we're almost turning and we're like, so where do we turn? And that's why we need to offer the solution.
Love that. So tell our listeners how they can find you, how they can sign up for this school, how they can get more information.
Yes, well, you can find me at januarydonovan.com at the Women's School or thewomanschool.com. You can sign up. We have a community we just launched. It's called The School, where literally I do practical life training and mindset skills of training, and just join our community. I offer free training. But I want to invite you to join the foundation of what it means to be a woman. It's
Yeah.
called New Woman Masterclass, and that's where we offer this new woman for such a time as this. And we give her the mindset and skill set training. I think it's the course that every woman I think deserves. So I want to invite everyone here, listener. We also have a man's school. And if you want to make money training women, we also have a wholeness coaching school where our women are able to really be part of the mission of reclaiming womanhood as coaches. They don't have to leave their home. And then they can make lots and lots of money.
I love that. You said you had like 300 coaches.
We've got 350 coaches right now,
That's
and
amazing.
it's new. That's really teaching this wholeness movement.
Yeah.
Um, the foundation, and we're just growing, I think, exponentially because of the hunger for I think a moral order.
I
And
love that.
yeah. So if anybody wants is interested, we can share with you the link in the bio. And thank you for the privilege of a really deep, meaningful conversation. I really appreciate your openness and your fight, because you're kind of in the trenches with the
Yeah.
people you're serving. You've used your own story. We call in the women's school, our wounds become the compass to our contribution, and that you're a living testimony of that. So,
Oh, thank you.
or living your purpose in a way that's contributing to society. So, I'm really grateful to call your friend.
Awesome. Thank you. Same. Yeah. I mean, like you, I just feel so fortunate to have a passion and a purpose. It drives everything. It makes every decision easy because does it forward that or no? And it's just like,
Mhm.
it just makes things easy because we have a mission, you, I, a lot of other people to really help this planet. And this is how we do it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.